3, 2, 1, and we're recording. It's that easy. Yours is the first one where we're saying, actually, we're not going to do it live. We're going to pre-record it, edit it, and then get it up. The whole idea of doing it live, we thought this will work really well with a nice bit of interaction, but it just turns out there's too many technical issues that can happen when it's live. So it's far better to record it and then just go from there.
Plus, we've got a lot of voyeurs in our membership who just like to watch, just lurk in the shadows and watch.
Yeah, exactly. Well, ladies and gents, welcome to the Revolution, I can't call it Live Lounge, really, Revolution Lounge episode 5, where we are with Ben Hutton, who is the fit foodie and owns Ben's restaurant that used to be the Queen's Pub in Bury St Edmunds. And I've been looking forward to this one. And when we were looking at people to get onto the lounge, I was like looking around, and I thought, well, who better to ask than Young Business Person of the Year from the Bury St Edmunds Award 2020, Mr. Ben Hutton.
Shazah.
I'm not sure we can go with young anymore. I do feel a little bit like I stole that, clinging on to youth, but. Yeah,
well, I don't know if you know, Ben, but we were nominated for Business of the Year in 2017.
Nice. Where'd you play?
We actually lost, though. We lost against... came runner-up to that bloody poxy dog daycare thing.
Oh, okay. No,
What's that called? Yeah.
You're not bitter,
Not that I'm bitter
you?
about it.
No.
Why are you clinging on to it 4 years later?
I'm slightly bitter about it still. Only because they're a franchise. And I was like...
Yes. It's taking the pee a bit.
But,
the model's been
at the end of the day, it's a popularity contest, and dogs with biscuits and toys and photos beat us. So,
I'm not going to lie, people love dogs.
Yeah, I know, as we found out in July 2017.
What I feel like this.
So
this podcast has taken a total. This Adam's rant. This is not a live round. Just me and you, Ben, just listening to him go off.
Congratulations to Canine Crash. Well deserved. Well done on replicating the model. Really well done.
Oh dear. Right, so Ben, back to you as the guest.
I'm not done. No, I'm only messing.
So, what's happening with you, Ben? How has the last, 12 months been for you, I suppose?
It's dragged, as I can imagine it has for you guys. You set your... Yeah. Oh, this is the worst thing. This. You're talking about the award, scale back. The 1 year you can't go to an award ceremony, get all suited and booted, get your celebrity guest or whatever, and get drunk and have a nice meal. The 1 year you can't do it is the year I win. Right?
Oh, yeah, at least we got our night. And it was actually really good. If I was any decent at editing at the moment, I'll have some of our 2017 nights going across, images going across.
Well,
that I can imagine that is a bit of a pain.
Redecorating our back dining room. That's what I was doing when I won the award.
So how did they do it? Did they do anything virtually, or did they just send you a certificate?
It was like a live update reel. So I was just checking in on my laptop every so often, and then they put out a video, like a pre-recorded video, and then you just click the link to that, and then it goes through the contestants, finalists, that's the word, and then tells you at the end. So I was kind of watching it, thinking it was just the preamble reel, and then at the end of it goes, and the winner is Ben Hutton. I was like, wait a minute, I wasn't ready for that. And then the lady turned up about quarter of an hour later with a quick drop and run with the plaque and a bottle of champagne and stuff.
So you just in your partially decorated dining room at that point. Ben Hutton wins.
Just sort of in my own world, doing a bit of painting and party of one.
Ben, how's it all going with because obviously I remember when it used to be the Queen's Pub. Now, I'll admit I haven't been to Ben's yet. Scully has, but I do really want to go because it looks
we've got,
fantastic.
Two places. So we've got Ben's restaurant, which is just down the road, on the same road. And then we've got Queen's, which is now Queen's Bar and Grill rather than Queen's Head. Because we wanted to rebrand it and try and bring it up a little bit. I mean, you probably went there when it was Queen's Head back in the day, the old sticky floors and football and loud, and like it was the place to be, as a lot of people say.
It was the place to be when you were 17 as well.
Yeah, it's the only place you'd get served underage. So I don't think I ever went there when I turned 18. But so there's a lot of nostalgia and a lot of memories for people. So we get people in their 40s and 50s coming in now thinking, oh, it's changed so much. We used to come here all the time. But our regular customs sort of, I'd say, different from what it used to be. But it's going really well, to be fair. Well, up until last March. It was strong, and we had a good summer when we could come back and open, and now we're just waiting for the next time.
So I look at we've one of the things that I keep looking at, but we keep missing you because you keep getting so busy with orders so quickly. Is like the takeaways that you've been doing over the last few lockdowns. Yeah,
we sold out of our Valentine's one overnight, and then extended it to what we could physically cope with. And then that sold out over the next night. So we're fully booked for the 13th of Feb, which is nice. And then the next one will be end of February. We're trying to keep it as like pop-ups with a different theme this time, rather than do it every day and people get tired of it. So
it's definitely something that I want to be tapping into and testing out as well in this lockdown, particularly as it looks like it could keep going.
I mean, we've been open it's 2.5 years, but obviously we've been shut for half a year. It's been open 2 years, and we still see so many people that think it's still closed because it's shut for about 2 or 3 years. Between owners, there's a lot of people going, "Oh, it's open now." I never knew. And I mean, we're busy, so people know about us. But I still want to tap into everyone that hasn't been here yet and try and drag them in, because when people come in, they do come back, which is nice. We've got a lot of regulars.
Yeah, of course. What is it that you think that about Ben's restaurant and the Queen's Bar, or Ben's Queen's Bar, I suppose now? What is it that's making it so, excuse the pun, appetizing to people? What is it that's keeping people pulling back about the way you deliver food? Your ethos, what you're trying to achieve?
So Ben's, we've got our own small holding, which my mum started probably about 11 years ago, just as a hobby for herself. It was that whole, I want some proper nice quality meat. So she got a couple of pigs, a couple of sheep, some chickens, and went from there. When I finished uni, I wanted to turn it more into a business. So took that ethos of like farm to fork, and we started trying to sell it to pubs, the meat, but because the way we rear it and it's such a small scale, it's too expensive. So basically no one wanted to pay the prices for the good quality. So I thought, I'll just open up my own place. I've always worked in like kitchens in front of house, had a bit of experience, and then it stuck with that ethos of our own home reared meat, and then whatever we could get from Suffolk as well. So we networked with a lot of Suffolk producers doing drinks, food, and as much of the menu as possible is locally sourced and seasonal. So that was always popular, because people want to know what they're eating, they want to know that it's good quality, and if you're going out to spend money, it's nice to spend it locally, so it boosts your local economy rather than some millionaire that banks in Monaco. So I think people like the fact that they're supporting small independent businesses, a network of them, rather than just one sort of global firm.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more, and particularly in these times, everybody seems to. The great thing that we've seen over the last 9 months is how much people have just supported their local community.
Is that feedback you've had from customers, that the fact that they love that everything is local, they're supporting local farmers and producers?
Yeah, well, we won Suffolk Business Awards 2 years ago, Field to Fork. We won that for our Field to Fork ethos. So it's nice to get
awards. All right,
Ben.
We haven't even won one yet.
We kind of fell into a national award.
Rub it in.
It was quite nice. We didn't win though, so I
didn't even try. Just fell into it.
I can't name who won, and I can't even name the date because I'm not holding on to it like you, Adam. But we ended up in the House of Commons, like suited and booted with some big businesses, and they're like, "Oh, what do you do?" We're like, "Oh, we just own a little restaurant and a small farm in Suffolk." They're like, "Oh, that sounds really nice." Like, they like the ethos of it. We're like, "What do you do?" We're like, "We're fourth generation farmers, and we've developed this, whatever they've done. Every year we have this, and this, and we're worth this." I'm like, "Cool, a little bit out of my depth."
Lovely.
Like, you stood in here, just me and my wife, like, don't think we belong here, but hey.
You've clearly had quite a meteoric rise then. I know you said that you wanted to turn your mum's or your family's small holding into a business. One, was it ever the dream and the goal to get this big, or was it a bit of a surprise that you've had to learn about very quickly?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not exactly big scale because we're still very local. I mean, I had different goals a few years ago, was to grow the restaurant side of it and grow the farm side of it. And then I took on Queens, having 2 premises. It made me realise I care a lot more about quality than quantity.
Nice.
You know, the whole business was built on quality in the first place. And as soon as I opened the second place, I realised, you know, I really want to hone in on that and I want to be present. If you've got 10, 20 restaurants dotted around the UK, you can't be at all of them. And I love to actually be there and be present and be involved. So it's one of those things.
It's funny, we were just having a similar conversation this morning, me, Adam and DJ, about the gym world and that equivalent of the sort of franchise type gym. And I suppose on the one hand, you've got the easily replicatable nature of it. But as you say, if you're putting your reputation, your name at stake with a particular brand and how that brand wants to be seen, wants to run, how it goes about its business, the more and more you start spreading yourself thin, you can't always have that quality assurance, that quality control. So
exactly,
I like the similarities in that between yourself and us.
You can weigh it up. I mean, the same thing with gyms as it is with restaurants. The more you get, if you go to a chain restaurant, you don't get the same quality of food, you don't get the same quality of service half the time, and there's no actual care or passion because it's just sort of robots doing a job. Whereas I think if you go to any independent restaurant, you'll feel the difference in the atmosphere, the service, and definitely in the food. And it's the same with the gym. Like with my little gym, it's very small scale, but it's me, and I want to take on some trainers to do some classes. But like you say, they've got to fit with your ethos. They've got to fit with your branding. It's not a case of just rolling it out and letting anybody do it, because then you put your reputation on the line, don't you?
Yeah, it's always tricky, and always finding the right members of staff seems to be one of the biggest hurdles to overcome whenever you're working on, your company or baby.
We've got a really good team, and we've had a good team. Some of it's changed over the years, but since day one, we've had some long-term staff. Touch wood. So I've been lucky with that, especially starting out quite young. It was hard to sort of learn how to manage so many people when everyone's older than you. Not everyone, but a lot of people. But we're lucky. We've got a really good team. We had at Ben.
Well, I think that sort of comes from. I always find that comes from the top down in your own passion. You can always get a couple of bad eggs, and you have to deal with them in kind. But I think if they can see the passion and the effort that you're putting in, it tends to affect the people in and around you, and makes them care about what they're doing. I think it's when if you're lacking that passion or involvement or hunger to drive forward, that's probably when you find it a little bit more challenging. But clearly in your case, if you've got that in-depth knowledge about what you're doing, your area, your company, your passion to see it provide that good quality service, I think naturally you then seem to find that it affects the people around you quite nicely.
I asked this question of... Oh, sorry, mate. Go on.
No, I was just going to say, you're right. Like, energy is contagious, isn't it? So, if you're there and you're present and people can see that you care, it's infectious. Whereas if you don't and you're not present and you don't care, why would anyone else? So no, you're 100% right. That's sort of how we do it.
Just carry on from that. I asked this question of the Tom Old of Mr. Barbers. Is there a certain process you go through with recruitment? Are there certain characteristics that you want from your members of staff, be they front of house, be they behind the scenes? What are you looking for? What is a Ben's employee?
They have to have been nominated for a Bury St Edmunds Award.
Very successful, highly driven.
Got to be the best of the best. No, we've had loads of different people, and the main things are making sure they fit within the team, because it's a team, so everyone helps.
Not an arsehole. Check, you're in.
Basically,
that's a good check. It's a good check.
They've got to.
I think we need to start applying that one.
Got to be. I don't know. You've got to enjoy working with people, haven't you? So you've got to get a team that's fun, cares about the job, has a bit of common sense, can do their own, work off their own initiative, and follow instructions. But the main thing is making sure that everyone clicks, I think. and that they've got a little bit of something about them that adds something to your team, because there's no point taking on a robot that stands in the corner and waits for instruction. You need someone with a little bit of oomph, a little bit of drive.
Have you made mistakes in the past? Have you had any? Again, it's a question I asked Tom. Have you had that nightmare employee that you went, "Oh shit, I'm going to learn from them"?
Touch wood, we've never had any real nightmares. I'd say we've made a couple of like small mistakes, maybe.
Up to you if you want to name names.
They never last very long, so
if you name names, don't worry, we'll bleep it out. Or will we?
You definitely learn a lot though, and
I can imagine, man.
Yeah, your gut feeling gets a lot stronger, and you sit in your interview going, "There's no point us wasting any more time, really, is there? Should we leave now?"
You just sit down. Hi, Nat. Nah.
As soon as they walk through the door, sometimes you could just tell and be like, "Just turn around." But you go through the process.
So a slight tangent here, and again, I've got a tendency of bringing this back round to my other interest in rugby coaching. You mentioned earlier about having to manage it up in terms of age quite often. It's definitely something that I've seen in rugby circles. I'm a relatively young coach for my experience and the level that I'm coaching at and opportunities I've had, sort of 32 years old. You got a lot of people who still see rugby as the way it should be, and we do this because we've always done this, and what could you possibly know at 30, 32, even younger than that? I started senior coaching when I was 26. So what lessons have you learned about that? Have you just had to have real belief in your own thoughts and your own systems and your own knowledge and just go gung-ho with that? Have you had to learn some middle ground where you concede a little bit until you got your foot in the door? Like, what have your learnings been?
I don't know. I mean, the hardest thing was when I opened the first restaurant, I was 22. So it wasn't really the staff weren't the issue. It's more that some of the public and sort of people within business and surrounding circles are like, "Oh, you're too young. Are you sure you can do this? Or you probably fail." And you think the first lesson you learn is
nice. For all those listening audibly, that was a double middle finger.
Fuck you.
But you've got to believe in yourself so much that whatever anyone else says doesn't matter.
Yeah, nice.
And I think with staff-wise, you're always going to get people that, especially if they're older, they're a little bit more stubborn and stuck in their ways. But like I say, the people that are like that have never lasted very long at all, so it's never become an issue. Whereas everyone that's actually stuck around as part of the team, they're not like they bring ideas in a positive way, and you can't just say, "Oh no, it's my way" or "That's it." It's making sure that they've got the right mentality. Not with chefs, like touchwood, we've never had any, but places where I've worked, older chefs can be horrible to work for, just like angry, stubborn, and so I always make sure that if I get into an interview with someone that I can see in that, I just won't take them on. You learn to read people. But
years ago, I used to work in a restaurant, and you experience much the same, that so many of these old school chefs seem to just be so angry all the time. But shout out to Nick Claxton Webb. I don't know if you know him, Ben. No. Okay. He worked at the Ickworth Hotel. He then worked at the Weeping Willow. I'm not sure where he works now, but he was a lot calmer, and he was a cracking guy to work alongside or within his kitchen. But I always remember he was one of those guys which actually, the more you got to know him, he was quietly confident. He was also like a black belt in multiple martial arts. And I always remember this one occasion where the restaurant manager at the time, who was a bit of a knob, ran into the kitchen, cursing and blinding and all sorts of all the chefs because of something that I can't remember what had happened. And Nick just walks up to him, puts his hand on his shoulders and goes, "If you ever talk to me like that again, I will throw you through that window." And then carries on with his cooking. And I was there at the past, like, I was like, that's how you don't fuck with Nick.
Fair enough. Learn his lesson, I imagine.
So Ben, when you at what point did you think to myself, oh, actually, I want to go into my own fitness suite style facility and go into the PTing and then the small group coaching and that sort of stuff?
Well, I said to Scully, when I was at uni, I'd done a year of society rugby coaching, and I loved it. And I've always been into fitness, read about it, studied it, done the typical like bro splits at uni and trained with the rugby guys. And, you know, it became more of a passion, but I wanted to understand it. It's not just, I want to lift something heavy and do a lot of bicep curls. I wanted to understand the mechanics of it and nutrition side of it as well, which I always misunderstood, as I think a lot of young guys do. And then from that, when I was doing my restaurant, it just stuck in the back of my head that I wasn't quite done with fitness. I was always keen and done a lot of my own training, ran marathon, done obstacle course races and bits and bobs. And I thought I still want to be able to help people in that side of things. So alongside running the restaurant, I'd done my PT qualification and then converted a barn that we've got on the farm into like a little studio. So just done one-to-ones, one-to-twos, and done that for the last 3 years. And it was only last year where I really wanted to start doing classes and more small group things. So put a little bit into redeveloping and refurbing that over the last couple of months, building an outdoor gym area. Just want to build like a bit like you guys, I guess. It's more of a fitness community. So it's more involving, it's more interactive. Whereas because I've had a lot of one-to-ones, it's great for me and them, but they don't know each other. So I'm trying to like connect them to each other, started a little private Facebook group, and the classes are fun. You know, they're good fun.
They are good fun, and it's a great way of doing things. Unless there's a global pandemic, it then seems to throw a bit of a spanner in the works. But
yeah,
there we are.
So we're doing the groups of me plus 5 with the rule of 6 indoors when we could beforehand, and then it's just waiting to see what the rules are, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing how just those extra few numbers around you can really inspire your clients to dig that little bit deeper, push that little bit harder. As you say, once you build that community feel around them, it's amazing what you can get out of individuals.
And it just gets competitive as well, doesn't it? Not in a bad way, but like we've done the Bring Sally Up challenge with the plank to press.
Yeah, nice.
And I was doing it and like leading it, and then some of the guys like tapped out, dropped to knees, whatever. And there's one guy that just kept looking at me, Steve, and he's very competitive. And I was like, oh shit, I can't stop now. I can't let you beat me. So I went all the way to the end of the song. I was actually dying, and I was like, I could see you wanted to outdo me, but it just makes me keep going. And like, even as a trainer, as soon as they stopped, I would have stopped. There's no need for me to not try to, demonstrate anything. I was like, I'll keep going now. We've got to keep going.
I remember when Scully, you were doing a session not too long ago, and you were teamed up with Becky Harvey-Evers.
Oh my God, she's a beast.
And it was very much the same, Ben. Like Scully was training with one of our, jumped in on a session and paired up with one of our members. And it was a particular workout that I put together, and it was quite gruesome. And it was basically rounds within a time frame to see if you and then I challenged the pairs to see if they could get those rounds done within a certain time frame. I think we got to about 3 attempts in, and on the final round, I sort of said,
"You had to get X amount of rounds done in 5 minutes." So Adam goes, "Well done, you got your X amount of rounds done, but it was 5 minutes and 10 seconds. You're going to have to go again." And the look that Becky shot me, oh my God, I could not let her down another time. But it's, it's always done. I'd like to think, maybe I'll have to confirm with Becky, it's definitely done with the right intentions. We often say to new members, like, don't panic about any fitness levels or what you're coming in with us. You could be the best in the class, the worst, for want of a better phrase, in the class. Our members will respect you if you're trying your hardest, whatever your hardest is. And there's definitely, I think we're getting better and better at creating that sense of pulling each other through this and trying to inspire each other to be better.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's one of those things. It doesn't matter what, people are at different levels, aren't they? And I think that's the biggest pitfall people make when they're starting their fitness journey. They're comparing themselves to people, 5, 10, maybe even 20 years in. People that have been doing this for years, committed for years. Sometimes it's their job, their sole focus. And, if you're a mum, a business owner, whatever it is, and you're suddenly comparing yourself to a fitness athlete or a model, and you go, oh, I want to look like that. And you think, okay, well, can you give up your job, leave your family, and do it 8 hours a day? You think,
yeah,
no, probably not. So shall we make it a bit more realistic? Like I say, it doesn't matter where you are, as long as you're trying, then you have that respect within the fitness industry. I think within the community.
Oh, for sure.
This is where I get really annoyed at this whole new Instagram lifestyle bullshit that you see around all the time. It drives me insane because exactly like you say, effectively people are plastering. Normally it's ladies, but there are more and more guys doing it as well. Whose sole focus in life is to develop. Not only generally they probably some form of genetic freak anyway, or a very very small percentage of people, but their sole focus is to develop their physique to look good, and then take photos of their physique, their body, their lifestyle. I suppose people can't help but compare themselves to it, but it's almost so damaging because not only are they spending all their time and money investing into their own body, but they're also learning to take photos in a certain way, posing, using filters and all sorts. And then they're portraying effectively this false image to all these people, which maybe aren't aware of how false it actually is. And it just causes so much damage to self-worth and then like this spiral that you then see people get into, which makes them achieve less and all sorts. And it's just painful when you look at some of this stuff on Instagram and social media.
I think 100%. And like you say, it stems from, I guess, the start of it would have been bodybuilding competitions where it's aesthetically focused, and that is it. And then from that, with social media, it's now being an influencer or an Instagram model. And again, it's solely on aesthetics, good lighting, editing. I mean, you haven't even taken into account Photoshop, stockpiling photos. So a lot of them, they'll be in peak condition for their show, won't they? Or for a photo shoot or for whatever they're doing. Stockpile their photos. And then
or just coming off another cycle.
Yeah, they don't look like that on Boxing Day, do they? After they've had a race and drinks.
Not if they do it like I do it.
Yeah.
If they do, they're not doing it right.
Yeah, where's your life? Like, where are you living? But they, you get stuck, and like I say, people compare it, and then it does nothing for their mental health. And especially over this last year, I imagine people have lived on Instagram a lot more than they used to whilst they're stuck in their house, just comparing themselves, saying, "What's the point if I can't look perfect? What's the point in starting?" You think you've got to try and drill that in, haven't you, at the bottom level?
That's conversations we've had a lot. It sounds like you've got a similar ethos to us, Ben. Like, what's your reason behind Fit Life? What's your goal? Aesthetics might be a byproduct, but it doesn't sound like that's your be-all, end-all.
No, I mean, like I sort of named myself as the fit foodie a few years ago in the fact because I own restaurants and I'm into fitness and a PT. So it's like, and I like food. I eat everything. I've never cut out any sort of food group or any specific foods.
My guy.
Chocolate, ice cream by the tub load,
alcohol.
Pizza. But I could do that and still stay in good shape and still stay fit because I understand nutrition and balance and portion sizes and whatever else. So that's where that came from. And then as I sort of grew into that, I realized that's kind of more about me. So I created and rebranded as the Fit Life to be more about, you, the people listening, the public, the community. And it's about having the Fit Life's about being the best version of yourself and combining fitness and lifestyle. Because I think too often people are like, I can't do that. I'm on a diet. No, I can't go for a drink. I'll just have, water, or I won't come at all. I won't go out. And I think that's not life. And for most people, and that's the thing I've realised, I don't train people that want to be in bodybuilding shows. I train average people that want to look better, be stronger, be fitter, be healthier. And, like I say, as a byproduct, if they look really, really good, happy days. But it's about, the inside as well, how you feel and functionality of your organs, your heart, your lungs, blood pressure, whatever else. So I think it's about combining fitness and lifestyle to be the best version of you. That's kind of like my mantra, I guess.
Nice.
Yeah, we always find that if you can encourage people to start feeling that benefit and progress, then things start to naturally capitalize on themselves. So originally, like our focus when it came to nutrition was about saying, how can we best help you cut the crap and eat and flood the body with as much micronutrients as possible? because naturally by doing that, you find that you're generally eating a bit less in terms of energy income. If you're moving more and you're becoming stronger, you start to get confidence in your body's ability to move, which is so often an issue when it comes to body confidence, feeling that you're in this thing which is made of glass. And then naturally, as you start to see that progress, you start to look at things a little bit more. Well, actually, maybe I could tweak things a little bit more there, or I'm becoming more aware on how much I'm eating or how little I'm eating, and I can sort of progress forward on that way. So we almost go from a flood the body full of micronutrients, set the bar low enough, let's see some progress and start developing further forward. But as things develop, people want a bit more change and they want something a bit differently. And there definitely seems to be a bit of focus at the moment in the fitness industry around like meal planning and guidance on that front, and focusing a bit more on calories in, calories out. Where do you stand on that sort of stuff? Do you go more down the calories in, calories out route? Do you go more down the quality of what you're eating? Is it a mixture of all of them?
It's my number one. It depends how serious you want to go and what your goals are. Like if you're coming in at sort of heavily overweight or an obesity level, the main goal for me is always calories. Like you're eating too much, reduce that, and then we can look at the quality of the food. I believe in eating whole foods is sort of my other top tip. If you can pick it, kill it, or grow it, it's going to be good.
Or
for you.
Purchase it at Ben's restaurant, Bury St Edmunds. Downtown.
I'll do all of that for you.
Yeah, we joke, like me and my clients, that I fatten them up and then sort of work it off. So I've got both ends of the spectrum.
Mate, you've
generating your clients.
Generating income from both sides.
Well played, sir. And that's
well done. You've done really well this month. Now you can go have a meal at Ben's restaurant.
And then next time they come over like, oh, I saw you had dessert. I think that's a few extra push-ups.
Side note, that is absolutely, we do not endorse that. It's continuous binging and purging. That's not what we're about.
That is all in balance. But no, I think, I'm a big advocate of calories because it's going to dictate the energy balance at the end of the day. It is what it is. But it's not the only thing that matters, but it's a good way of balancing your lifestyle. So, if you need, let's say, 2,500 calories a day, if you're going to eat 5,000 on a Saturday because that's your weekend day, you need to make it up elsewhere. You can't do that every week and hit the goals that you want to hit. So I think it's a good place to start with educating people because a lot of people don't even really understand what calories are, or that it doesn't really matter because it's good foods. Like, in the slimming world, sorry if you like it, but free foods, nothing's free.
It drives me mad.
Sin free, but I also agree nothing's bad. So they place the word sin and bad food, and there's less nutritionally valuable foods, 100%, and there's stuff with higher saturated fats, higher sugar contents, whatever. But if you're only going to have a little bit of that, and most of your diet is good, optimal nutrition, then what's the problem?
That's two things for me. Oh, sorry, we've got to get better at this, not cutting each other up.
It's really difficult when you're doing it virtually. I cannot wait till we can do this around a table.
So I'll let you go, but two things from me. I've said this on a couple of the podcasts. I've said it to lots of people. For me, that's why all these fad diets don't work. Exactly that word you just said, sin. You're relating too much emotion to a food. All of a sudden, like you say, I've sinned. What's the point? I might as well give up now. Spiral. Like food is an essential part of survival. So why we should ever feel guilty about it makes no sense to me. And then the flip side of that, this free food. My fiance's family used to do Slimming World. Oh yeah, no, don't worry. I can have 14 roast potatoes. They're free. No, they're not. That's still 14 roast potatoes worth of calories, and it just warps the. It's a good starting point for someone who's never thought about food. At least you're starting to make improvements. But for me, it warps too much that understanding of what a calorie is, as you say. Anyway, Adam, that's my little mini rant.
Yeah, well, I was just saying. I think that it's. I think that the issue that you come up against time and time again is people's lack of confidence in their own body. So even people in a lot of the times when you come up against people that want to lose weight, they are lacking in confidence, and it's almost like they feel as if weight loss is some mythical deity that they have to pray to and hope that it answers. Whereas actually your body is incredibly adaptable. It's incredibly intuitive. And all you've got to do is move a bit more, just start focusing on the quality of what you're eating, the amount that you're eating, and you'll start to see adjustments. And then as you start to build that confidence in what your body can do, you can make further adjustments when you feel ready to maybe try and take things to another level. And that's saying if you want to, like what you were saying, Ben, none of us really train Olympic athletes or stage models or anything on that front. It's about saying, actually, can we make the quality of your life that bit better? Can we give you a bit more confidence? And I say that when people first come into the Rev studio, it's almost like they've got like this Instagram grey scale sort of filter on them. And after about 2 to 4 weeks, it's something completely different, and they've got colour back in their face, and there's more bounce in their spring in their step, and it's fantastic to see that development.
That's a lot of people come in and they say, well, I think I eat too many carbs. I know I shouldn't really eat carbs. And I go, why is that then? And they're like, well, they're bad, aren't they? And I think, why is that then? And I always hammer in the why, and you try and get to a point where they can't answer you, and they're like, and you think, do you like carbs? Yeah, no, I love carbs. And like, do you want to cut them out? Well, not really, but it seems to be what the way forward. And think, doesn't have to be. Have you thought about just eating less of them, like rather than cut them out completely? Or, where are you getting your carbs from? Are you getting your carbs from a lot of different processed foods with high calories, or are you eating rice, potatoes, getting your beans, nuts, whatever it is, to get your protein, carbs and fat content from whole foods? Or are you eating too many burgers, too many pizzas and too many takeaways? And that's where the issue is, not in carbohydrates as a food group, but in your food choices. So it's finding the whys, I think, a lot of the time, isn't it?
Yeah, and like you say, it's treating everybody differently. Like one of the first things that we do on our online hub is whenever anybody starts, they go to their profile, they put in all their information, and then it calculates their requirements needed as a guide, obviously, for the outcome that they're looking for and how they might want to break it down. It gives them a nice starting point. But at the same time, sometimes that initial stage for some people can be a little bit too challenging, or too much to think about. So some people prefer the idea of just being told, actually, well, we're just going to focus on a particular food group over the next few weeks, because for me personally, it's easier for me to walk around the shop knowing that I just need to avoid those food groups for now, and then I can come out and it's just a lot more manageable. But like you say, it's important throughout that process that regardless, you do help educate people that there's inflammatory foods and anti-inflammatory foods, and there's foods that are high in calorie and dense, and there's foods that are less dense in calorie intake, and understanding that there's a lot more depth than just calories and just food groups. And that, again, your body's got ridiculous amounts of intuition that is different from that person's body. And it's going to be an exciting journey for you to go on to see what works for you. And let's have fun with doing it. And don't worry about if you fall over a few times.
That's the thing, 100%. It's so unique to you and your body. And if you've been doing it long enough, you can eat, like you use the word intuitive, you can eat intuitively. You know roughly what your body needs. You know how it performs on different foods. You know where you can, have a cheat or whatever, and where you can't. But like I say, sometimes it's too much for people to start saying, and I think that's the problem with a lot of diets. They start at the top of this pyramid. You've got calories, macros, micros, meal timing, supplements. And if you don't know your calories in some way or another, what's the relevance of whether you're having a protein shake or eating 6 times a day? But like you said, people jump on these meal plans. They go, I need to eat chicken and broccoli 6 times a day. That's the only way to do it. And you think, how many calories are you eating? Don't know. What are your macros like? Don't know. You getting any vitamins, minerals? Don't know. But I'm eating chicken and broccoli 6 times a day. You think,
this is going to work.
A little bit, and you see. And I think comes back to Instagram as well. We talked about aesthetics, but diets and anything that anyone can make a couple of quid on. Is boom bod and ketones and whatever else. There's so many different things, that fat loss pills. And you think there's different things that will have different impacts on your body and your hormones and how things work. But there is no magical cure, no matter how hard you look. Otherwise, everyone would be in perfect shape. Like, we'd all look like gods, wouldn't we, if there was a magic pill that could do it? So I think there's a lot of misleading information out there, which makes it so hard to sort of strip that back and start from scratch.
Yeah, I think it's always good to focus with people on the enjoyment of testing yourself, trying things, and understanding that failing is just progression. Because one of the things I say to people all the time is that effectively you've got key pillars in life. You know, you've got your personal life, you've got your family life, you've got your work life, and maybe you've got an additional pillar on top of that. But throughout the year and throughout your life, those pillars are going to take up more time in variation. And sometimes when something, maybe work is going absolutely potty, or maybe family life, there's something going on at home, all of a sudden you're running out of that you time, and you're not going to have the same amount of time to focus on you, your health, your fitness. So that's okay. It's okay not to be perfect, and it's okay not to be focusing on maybe your food as much as you were, maybe your fitness. Maybe you can't train 4, 5, 6, 7 times this week. Maybe you can only go for a couple of walks, but it's fine. Allow that to take a back seat. Focus on what needs to be the priority at the time to make sure that you're happy, and then go back to balancing out those pillars as and when life starts to settle back down again.
Yeah, it's like we've both said, it's almost that all or nothing mindset. I've either got to be all in this, beasting myself 7 days a week and eating like a perfectionist, or what's the point? And as you've both alluded to, the real world isn't like that, however much we'd like to love it to be. Not for all of us anyway.
Adam, you've hit on a point that I done like a video on ages ago. It's like a Venn diagram, and same thing. You have your work life, health and fitness, and family, friends, social, whatever it was. And like I say, you'll get pulled in different directions at different points in your life. And I get it all the time. Sometimes I'm working too much. I can't train 5 times a week, so I'll do 1. But I won't feel guilty about it, because if I tried to force it, I'd probably perform, worse at work, and I'd be tired and I'd get grumpy and I wouldn't be eating as well. So, and there's times where I'm so busy that I don't eat very well. And, I'll go a month and think, well, that probably wasn't a good month in the way of diet and nutrition. But you start to feel sluggish and think, right, oh well, it's done now. Can't change the past. Let's get on with it, reset yourself, and get back to normal. But I think people, like you say, it's all or nothing. Or if they slip up, they go one of 2 ways. They either give up completely and go, oh, what's the point? I'll binge on everything. Or they punish themselves and go, right, I can't eat chocolate again for a year. And they make these statements that aren't achievable. Or like, I'll exercise every single day and I'll do this and I'll do that. You think, why can't there be, you make a plan that fits your lifestyle. If life gets in the way, resort back to that same plan. Don't make it any more drastic or any more challenging. And there are times when you're going to push it more. Like, if you've got the energy for it and you've got the time for it, there's no harm in making your diet stricter and making your workouts more intense and making your training plan more consistent to 6, 7 days a week, whatever you want to do, as long as you've got the right rest and recovery, programmed in. There's no harm in doing that, but trying to force it where it doesn't fit and where your life doesn't allow it is where people, I think, fight that inner battle. They're fighting themselves, and they don't win. There's no good outcome from that, is there? There's no win. So
no, where do you stand on personal responsibility? Because that's always a fine line in this industry. Whereas on 2 extremes, you can take the angle of, it's up to you what you put in your mouth and how much you move. Simple as. At the same time, you can go to the other end, which is arm around the shoulder saying, don't worry about it. There's lots of both mental and physical demons that we've got to deal with here. And understanding the depth of that is something that we've got to explore. So where do you stand on the personal responsibility side of things?
I mean, you've got to hold yourself accountable for your actions, haven't you? I mean, if it was a different thing, say it was crime and you just went around smashing windows, you can't keep saying, oh, it's okay, you were angry, so it's okay to keep smashing these windows. But you might get really angry, throw a rock through a window, apologize, pay for the damage, and recover from the situation and get back to being a civil human being and not causing criminal damage. Like
pay for the damage via burpees. I see what you're doing there.
Yeah,
I see the relation.
You say you don't, I don't know, you don't eat processed foods or whatever, and suddenly you have a pizza. There's no need to coddle it and say, oh, no, it's okay. Just assess it and say, right, why did you have it? And they're like, oh, well, I was tired. I was having an emotional day. Okay, did it feed those emotions? Did you feel better for it? Well, yeah, I did at the time. So how are you feeling today? Yeah, I'm okay. Well, should we just get back to the normal diet today? Yeah, no, that sounds good. And you think you could just assess it, pick it apart, ask yourself questions. I don't know why, but there's an old song that keeps popping in my head this week. It's a book I'm reading. It's like, check yourself before you wreck yourself. You better check yourself before you wreck. And I'm reading The Chimp Paradox. It's about like the different sides of your brain and how they communicate, and the subconscious versus the conscious. And, you know, it is that it's question yourself before you make these decisions. And like the biggest one I get is office workers. And it's cakes and biscuits, and this, you know, this sort of like ethos of everyone must bring in something to eat and snack on, and it always has to be a sugary snack. But before you eat it, just literally ask yourself the question, do I need it? Yes or no? Do I want it? Yes or no? And a lot of the time it'll be no and no, and you think, actually, yeah, I'm not going to miss anything, let it go. But I think so quickly we see it and go, ooh, and you don't even take, you know, a second or 5 seconds to process that decision. And that's all it is. It's processing the decisions and weighing up the options. Think, do I want it? Yes, I do want it. Okay, right, we need to account for that and put it in our diet for the day. Do I want it? No. Okay, don't have it. And
yeah, we have. Sorry, Scully. When we get started with somebody, like I say, we go through our profiling section so people can understand how much roughly they should be consuming based on what it is that they want their outcome to be as a guide. And for people that are just starting out, we also have our system reboot, which has an insulin sensitivity phase, an anti-inflammatory phase, a balance phase, which is where you're getting them to make more decisions about what they're doing. And then effectively, and there's a couple of more phases, but there's a fourth phase, which is basically like, now eat what you want, but has what you wanted changed? And like you say, that self-reflection to say, yeah, I might fancy that bit of Terry's chocolate orange right now, but actually, do I really want it? Is it going to help me get to where I want to get to? Has everything I've been doing over the last few weeks or months, actually, I've really liked that's the way I've been feeling, and I like the feeling of progression that I'm feeling. So do I really want it? Actually, no. And just that self-reflection can sometimes make such a difference.
I was just going to say, like, going back over a few things, like what you said earlier, Ben, about being a bit more intuitive. Adam, you said that comes as a product of trial and error. Actually, again, what you've both just said about understanding your whys behind things. I did a bit of a video for our members the other day about calorie tracking, meal tracking, being aware of what you're eating. And I made a bit of a comment in there that I hope wasn't lost on our members. I just said, you know, I will eat quite intuitively, but I also understand there has to be an element of sacrifice around that. So if I use my example, I will, you know, like, I'm no saint. I'll enjoy a couple of beers at the weekend, especially the weekend coming up, rugby's back on, I'll have a few. But I understand somewhere in my week leading up to that, or the week afterwards, I've got to balance those, you know, those levels. That might be a day where it's a bit of a longer bit of fasting. It might be a day where I train twice a day and my calorie expenditure is a bit bigger. Two things on that, I suppose. One is what we're not, or what I'm certainly not promoting, is what you've suggested, Ben, this binge purge, punish myself, hate myself because I made this mistake. It's not that at all. I just understand that if I want to be intuitive, there's got to be those sacrifices. But then it also comes down to what I've practiced on myself for the last few years. Yeah. I know that if I do a couple of days of a bit more fasting, I can drop those few kilos relatively quickly. I know my intensity levels. I know my intensity levels and what I can push while I'm fasting. It's not a guilt trip. It's not a purge. It's not dangerous. It's what I have trial and errored on myself, and I know it works. But that comes from what we've said, an understanding of what and how I can eat, what and how I can move. It's not just, I saw if I don't eat for 3 days on Instagram, I'll be six-pack ready. And that's what I'm just going to go for.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's learning yourself, isn't it? It's trial and error. Like, I work with some people and they're like, I have to eat breakfast. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And I think, why? You know, you sit at a desk. Are you hungry? No. Do you feel like your work's, you know, you're sacrificing your work because you haven't had a breakfast? No, I feel fine. then don't have it. Like, you don't have to be regimented. Some people, if they don't eat breakfast in the morning, they're going to be sluggish, they're going to be slow, they're not going to feel the energy. And it all depends on, your hormones, your circadian rhythm, like how you sleep, when you work, whatever it is. And like, I don't eat breakfast, very, very rarely eat it. And people are surprised, they're like, what? I don't need it. It doesn't affect my performance in any way. It doesn't affect my routine, and it allows more calories for later on, so I can have bigger meals if I want to. And like you said, Scully, it's I don't promote the binge purge thing, but it's understanding the flexibility within your own body, your performance levels, your nutrition. And I have big meals sometimes. I have takeaways every so often, and I never feel guilty about it. Literally don't need to, because I know that I might have gone for a 5-mile walk, had a weight session, had a pizza. Tomorrow I'll have 200 less calories and eat better. But the 80 to 90% of my diet is consistent whole foods, and then the other 10 to 20% is whatever I want when I want it, because I understand it.
Yeah, I had that chat with Ollie this morning. I was in the studio with him while he was doing his mobility session for us, and we just happened to talk about intermittent fasting. I went through a couple of months. Start of last year, I did it religiously. So same as yourself, I'd skip every breakfast. I wouldn't eat till at least midday. It served a couple of purposes for me. I recompositioned my body. It showed me that I don't need breakfast, and I'm at a middle ground now where I'll go day to day depending on how I feel. So yesterday I woke up starving. I ended up having a big calorie day, but then I trained hard twice yesterday. Whereas this morning I've woken up, I don't feel hungry. I'm busy enough. By the time we finish this podcast, give it another couple of hours, it's past lunchtime anyway. I'm only going to train once today. So actually today can be an intermittent fasting day. But it's investing time to practice on myself to understand what is my body telling me. Am I just eating for the sake of it? Or am I conditioned to feel, scared of these hunger pains? So I've got to eat now, when actually I can probably survive another couple of hours, stay within the window that I need for that day, and all is good.
No, yeah,
All this talk about food, I keep thinking about one of those Ben's burgers. What are the chances of getting one of those this evening?
Yeah, when I finish my painting.
Yeah.
So has your understanding of nutrition and your 1 foot in the fitness world, has that had an impact on, I know you've spoken about the quality of what you produce in Queens and in Ben's, has that has an impact on the makeup of the meals there?
The quality does. I mean, at the end of the day, we're a restaurant. So at Ben's, it's very whole foods because it's more British tradition. But we still have processed foods, but we make everything. So like all our bread we make in-house. So it's not packed full of sugar and preservatives. It's fresh baked, good quality. So, but I mean, at Queens, we load things up with cheese, and we deep fry a lot of food and batter it and flour it, and we've done food challenges before.
How dare you?
But that's where I sort of come from, is I could perfectly happy kind of eat a 10,000 calorie food challenge and not feel guilty about it. I mean, I'll feel sick, but I wouldn't feel guilty about it, because
Probably come out in a couple of meat sweats.
try it, yeah, 100%, But it's one of those things. I think you can have that food without feeling guilty if you understand yourself and you don't eat it every day. Like, working in the kitchen is the hardest thing because you're surrounded by it. But I have to make that conscious decision not to eat a burger every single day of the week. Sometimes I have to have, a lot of the time I'll eat steak and rice or fish and rice or whatever because it's quick and it's easy. But then some days I'll have a fried chicken burger. But, I won't do that every day, and I don't eat chips like all day, every day. So it's just learning about when you can and can't. So yeah, I'd say the meals, the quality of what goes in the meals is there, but the combination of then throwing cheese on it or putting it in a fryer, you lose some nutritional value, you add a lot of calories, but I don't think it really matters in the grand scheme of things, unless you're going for, that show. And if you are going for a body composition show, then yeah, probably don't come and eat at Queen's the week before.
So do you do much of the cooking yourself in the restaurants?
Yeah, I do most of it. We've had different chefs in that, but after last year, things have changed quite a bit. So for the last couple of years, I've been kitchen based, and now since autumn last year, I've been running the Queen's Kitchen. So yeah, I do all the cooking at the moment.
So what does a standard day? Because obviously that's a lot. Like I'm also I have Rev, and I'm also a wealth manager and pension advisor. So I know that it's difficult juggling two roles, and in my case being a dad as well. So what does a standard day look like for you, and how do you juggle everything?
It depends what day of the week it is, but I don't know, go with a Wednesday. Get up, go to the farm, feed the animals, which my mum helps with a lot. So we've got 3 different sites. So she does 2 of them. I do 1 of them, which is at the gym as well. So we've got livestock at the gym. So go feed them, train some clients.
Today's workout is lifting a cow.
Yeah, you're going to squat the cow 10 times, chase after the pig, curl the sheep.
Get your
and then you can only finish when you can catch a chicken.
Yeah, let a chicken out.
There's your shuttles.
Clients, try and get a workout in, go to work, have lunch, do social media posts for the multiple businesses, try and stay relevant on that. Eat, cook, go to sleep, or read, wake up, go to the farm, train clients, eat, train.
Do you put a lot of emphasis in the organisation of your time? Do you understand that if you want to achieve what you want to achieve, again, going back to previous podcasts, people have mentioned that we have to sacrifice is probably the wrong word, because again, you're putting those bad connotations on food, but on actions. But do you understand there has to be order? I have to be a degree of regimented around this
routine.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Routine.
Like, it's prioritising as well, and
prioritising. Yeah, it's a good word.
I've prioritised business, like the journey of my business and success, because that's something that intrinsically I want. I'm motivated to be successful for my own, my sense of purpose, my own self-worth. So I've sacrificed, social events, family events, being able to go out and drink on the weekends because I work weekends. And you say sacrifice, it sounds negative, but it's prioritising what's important to you at the time. And I still take time off occasionally to go on holiday and do things. And I won't worry too much about my diet if I'm on holiday, because that's my time. I'll eat okay, and I'll still go to the hotel gyms and go out for runs and whatever. But it's finding that balance, and it's rewarding yourself as well, I think. So my weeks are very regimented, and they're the same. Like every week is pretty much the same. It's the same routine, the same schedule, the same times. And on a Sunday night, we finish work at about 6 or 7 o'clock. We'll always have like our date night, me and my wife. So that's kind of like my switch off. And then Monday, wake up, straight back on it all the way through.
Switch off at 6 p.m. Sunday evening, straight back on it at 7:30 p.m. Sunday evening.
But boy, is that hour and a half relaxing.
Oh.
You got to make the most of these little snippets of time.
I think you're completely right. I think so many people underestimate. No, actually, don't underestimate. I think everybody knows it. I think as part of your own self-discovery, you just find out whether you're that person or not. And there's nothing wrong with being any type of person. I think I've said to people in the past, like when you're looking at trying to do multiple things or multiple careers, or even just one career, or owning a company, like there seems at one stage there was quite it was almost like a bit of a mantle on being a business owner. And I've said to people, I was like, don't underestimate a 9 to 5. Depending on the type of person you are, they have masses of pros and cons to them. And depending on who you are, you might find that actually that 9 to 5 working in a small company or a corporation or could actually be what's ideal for you. It just completely depends on the type of person you are.
100%. It depends on your end goals, your work ethic, and I think going back to that word sacrifice, I've had to make sacrifices to be where I am. There's no other way of doing it, and some people don't prioritize work as highly as I do. And this last year has made me realize I need work. Like that it's a huge part of me is to work and to do what I do. Without that, I feel a little bit lost. And I've tried to spend more time with family. And one thing I've always neglected self-care for work up until the last couple of years. We're doing more of the fitness stuff, where I try and find this elusive balance that we all crave. So I think it's just getting, like you say, it's getting the right thing for you. and trying not to put your principles too much onto other people and the people around you, and just accepting that everyone's got their own paths, and it is what it is, isn't it? And lockdown, I think, has made a lot of people reflect. Since last March, I think everyone must have had some sort of reflection and self-evaluation of what's important to them, going forwards. And there's been a lot of career changes, a lot of people losing jobs out of choice or because they've been made redundant. And it gives you time to reflect and decide what type of person you are, what drives you, and what you need to do going forward.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine who's a business consultant, and he said the amount of people that are just bowing out now who are small business owners, and also advising small business owners myself on the finance front. Like you get to that point where you, in tough times like now, you find out really whether you want to dig deep, put your heels in, pull yourself up by bootstraps and find a way of making it work. Or, and completely fair enough, you might find that actually this isn't for me anymore. I want to go do something a little bit different, maybe a little bit less intense, or just different is probably the best word, just different. I think it's.
We've all been blessed with, if nothing else, a bit more time, and I think it makes you think one of two ways. It's kind of made me think both ways. One was I work, I need to work, that is my purpose, which is why we've been doing a lot of refurbishment and regeneration over the last year, is to reinvest and to make sure that when this is over, we are at our best and our strongest point, whatever that may be. But the other side of it is, actually, I quite like spending a little bit more time with my wife and walking the dogs and doing my own training. So I'll come back with a slightly different mentality of trying to prioritise myself and my business, whereas it was always been business, forget about yourself. So I think it's, there's, like you said, there's a lot of people though that have gone, actually, it's not for me. This has been too intense. I now, prioritise my family over my work, and if it means getting a 9 to 5 with a secure income, because that's the thing, with all security. And if you guys running your own gym as well, you don't have the same income, you don't have the same security that you've had, and suddenly you've gone, all my income's just suddenly stopped for 9 months. Is it worth it, or do I want a job where I can have 2 days off every week, have my 28 days holiday, and know that at the end of each month I get the same pay? And it determines. And for me, this has made me realise that no, that's not really something I strive for. I'm happy with the risk. It just is what it is, isn't it? And you dig deep and get through it. So, I mean, you guys in the fitness industry has been hit.
Yeah, I had
hard as well.
Oh, yeah, just a bit. But you can only do what you can do. And much like what you were saying, I had one of those moments. I think it was back in December, and my other half sort of always talks to me about it anyway, which is like your mentality and the way that you're built. And she'll notice it sometimes, that even if we're having, like, if we're supposed to have a relaxing weekend doing something as a family, sometimes she'll know by the way that I've woken up. Sometimes she'll be like, look, just go do a couple hours of work so you can actually then relax and enjoy the weekend. I found particularly this year that actually over the last few years, I'm one of those people that I quite like to be in and amongst the chaos. And if things are a bit calm, and a bit too easy, I generally will try and find a way of moving to something else and trying to spice things up a little bit.
No, 100%.
I think I'm a bit like that. It just possibly in a different way to you two. Like, from listening to you boys, I'm probably more of a firefighter. Like I like lots of little in the moment type jobs and projects, and but I find self-worth in staying busy as well. One-to-one training, one-to-one rugby, coaching a rugby team, coaching Norway, working for Adam. A couple of years ago, being part-time in a school, running off my feet, trying to fit in 3, 4, 5, 6 jobs. And the missus, we've had to sacrifice time together, and she'll go, "You're bloody mental." But then that's where I feel my self-worth is kind of buzzing around, jumping around everywhere.
I mean, you guys as well.
How much emphasis do you now put on personal time?
Who, me?
Sorry, Ben, I think we're just having a little bit of bloody technology.
Say it again.
So how much emphasis do you now put on personal time? Because like what you were saying beforehand, and I completely agree. I think like the last 9-12 months, I think more people will put value on their leisure time as opposed to how much they're working or how much they're bringing in. So how much value do you now put on leisure time?
I do think it's important, but like exactly what like you've just said is if things get too calm, I feel calm in the chaos, like what you said. So I got very, very bored, which is why I've come up with new projects and, I redecorate. I have to be physically busy and mentally. So I'm reading a lot at the moment because if my brain doesn't do anything, then I just get fidgety and tired. But I think it's that combination of everyone says balance like work and life. Some of my personal time is work. If it means creating some sort of content or cooking new recipes, making videos, that is still sort of self time. So I think it's fine if you're passionate about what you do. It's not always doesn't have to not be work related to be thing or rewarding or whatever it is. But I do try and get out. Like I realised over the last couple of weeks how important getting out and walking my dogs is, because it's just that fresh air, a bit of exercise. And I started doing it in a weighted vest just to sort of up the ante walk. But I find that time very therapeutic and very relaxing, as long as the dogs are behaving. Otherwise, it's a bit of pain sometimes. But I now put a higher value on something as simple as that. Whereas I didn't before, it was doing it as a chore. It was like, I need to walk the dogs. I have to get out for them. Now it's like, I want for me as well as them. So it's changing your perspective, I think, as well as, changing your actual actions. It's just changing how you look at what you do and trying to enjoy the moment of each thing you do throughout the day. I mean, what do you guys do to switch?
But it all goes full circle into. Good question. It all goes full circle when, like, from everything that we're talking about, because effectively it's always that balance that you're trying to give your clients. Well, help your clients figure out how much of any one thing should they be doing to be as healthy as they possibly can be, to suit their personality traits and their lifestyle. And we did a video just the other day on the effect of photoncides from trees to the to your T killer cells production rates and effectiveness within the body. So just getting that out there, just for a long walk once a week, can make all the difference to your own immune response. And like you say, it's getting that balance. We spend all our time now saying to clients, actually, what challenges can we put together to get you outside, get you in and around? Because that little bit of fresh air, being in and around nature, really does make a big, big difference. So, yeah, interesting times that we're all living in. Right, guys, we have been on here now for over an hour. So we're going to start wrapping things up now. Ben, thank you very much for coming on to the Revolution Lounge. We're going to edit this and get it up later on tonight, so you can give it a little peek and see what you think to it all. Have you got anything else that you want to say?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I guess I'll ask you guys a question of like, you talk about pillars and balance, and what's like your Revolution Fitness mantra, or do you have like a quote or an affirmation or anything that you go by to install into clients, or what's a nice finishing note to sum up RevFit?
Who's got this one?
So with Revolution Fitness, it is all about building confidence in your body's ability to move and belief in the choices that you make. That then entails the progress, the results, and the confidence that everybody is so usually looking for. But effectively, everything we do is built around building confidence. Whether it's exactly like I say, in your body and its ability to move, adapt, change, showing that you're not made of glass, or whether it's showing yourself actually that you probably do know the right answer to what it is that you're looking for, but maybe you just need a little bit of guidance. But it's that confidence and that belief in yourself that really, really builds for that progress and those results that everybody want to see. So that's what I would say our mantra is.
Yeah, I think it's cool that we've spoken so much today about health not necessarily being about aesthetic. about being more than that, about being how you feel, about being guilt-free. We've certainly tried to push our members to measure progress in different ways. So not just reliant on the scales, and maybe not even just so reliant on before and after pictures, but actually, how do you feel? How do you move? Is that little niggle that you couldn't live without, all of a sudden you're not thinking about anymore? Are you able to play with the kids better? Are you up and down? You know, we had one of our members the other day say she ran down the stairs with the laundry basket and then stopped at the bottom of the stairs and went, shit, I've just run down the stairs for the first time in 5 years. So it's rounding up that more aspects of health and fitness than just what do I look like on an Instagram photo, which I guess is where this, you'll see on Adam's shirt, the Rev Fit. I suppose that's the next evolution of our branding, is to say, you know, part of what we're doing is to help you look and feel physically fitter. But actually, we're not trying to produce elite athletes here. We're just trying to produce people who live a better day-to-day life. And under that is the mental side of things, and also how you're inspiring others to be sort of a bit better around you. So I think it's cool that it seems like you, and this is why I asked a question earlier, it seems like you've got very similar philosophy and ethos to what you're trying to do.
Yeah, it sounds there's a lot of crossover, and it's funny what you said about the lady running down the stairs with a washing basket. One of the most rewarding things is when they cross over a real life situation based on what they've been doing in the gym. And we had a lady in her 60s who was holding up her granddaughter on monkey bars, and she's like, I never would have been able to do that. Or like carrying heavy bags of shopping up 3 flights of stairs, and think not even out of breath. I think that, yes, that's why we do it. It's to improve your life. Fitness should improve and add to your lifestyle. It shouldn't take away from it. So I think there's a massive crossover with, what you guys installed and what I try and install.
Awesome.
Oh, definitely. Well, Ben, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Like I say, I'll notify you once we're all edited up and loaded. Thank you very much, and good luck with everything, getting everything all back up and running, as well as we hopefully start to come out of this lockdown life. And I'm sure at some point we'll touch you. It'll be great to get you back on again once we're all face to face.
Yeah, fingers crossed it won't be too long before
next team meeting down at Queen's Bar and Grill.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, definitely. We'll get a team meeting down the Queen's. Yeah, likewise, buddy. Anyway, we're going to we will leave it there, and we will speak to you very soon. Thank you very much.